Welcome to a late or daytime IHP show, depending when you tune in. And we have a lovely update for the regular community here. As you all know, since you've been around IHP for I don't even know how many years anymore, it's always been about being yourself. Lately, I've been thinking of how can we integrate all of that self-leadership knowledge and nervous system knowledge. Well, all the knowledge that I've gotten and that you might not have at all. So, first, I almost reacted. Then I remembered sovereignty is a choice, and that Maria, yes, I am a human. I'm a mystic though, so please remember, pseudoscience lady, and I'm a storyteller, so I'm not going to be, boring. Well, I'm boring. No, I'm not boring to those who are self-leaders. So self-leadership, it does begin with you having nervous system fluency. It means you have that which is called a window of welcome to all the deep emotions. You don't shrink, you don't minimize, you don't shut the fuck up, none of that. But let me also say you don't spit in the faces of people. And so lately, while my judgmental asshole, that means Maria's irritable butthole, because I love intellect, and whenever I'm meeting the pseudo-intellectuals, I'm allergic. I'm allergic to the masses, not the smart masses. I'm allergic to the masses that follow around other people that I consider not leadership material in any way, shape, or form. Since I do know my own timber, which makes me self-aware and self-reflective, I knew, okay, something's got to reformulate. It's not Maria's identity because this is one identity. So self leaders, yes. And again, I like to play with words, so I'm trying to get into the rhythm and rhyme of the words that we will be using. Embodied self leadership, it really is only when you can be yourself. Again, fancy words, not fancy, but really Bessel van der Kolk has taught me the best. When someone's afraid, they look outside themselves for help. It's called their nervous system. Mine doesn't. It does not outsource its emotional sphere to other. It actively self-regulates. Even though, as a human, I almost reacted. No, I get frazzled sometimes, and that's because Maria's body, like anybody else's. I have a 3-year-old. She's in the lead, and a 16-year-old who gets irritated with ignorance. And so here's the mastery, by the way, of Akash, source, Anima Mundi. All the mystics that are in our 5D collective know what I'm talking about. And that's why I do know I'm a pseudoscience woo-woo lady. But I'm not a woo-woo lady in the way of, you may be right, I may be crazy. I mean, really, I think can we say words anymore? So, at the end of the day, stick around because I'm going to read to you 3 kryptonites, yes, that block, because superheroes and supervillains, they always have an Achilles heel that brings them to their knees. They also want a loser and a winner. In my case, I believe in every single one of you. I care about humanity. That's because I care about also myself. So self-leaders don't give up on themselves because someone out there no one puts a finger in your ear. Thanks, Sylvester. I love the quote. So while Sylvester is in the movie shitting on his son, when I'm thinking, well, I mean, son of yours has some points, you know what I mean? If we go to therapy, we'd find out that shadow means something. But let me, leave it alone, because Peter Pan and his shadow, he becomes Hook. And that's why out there's a bunch of them. So please stick around. Again, this is story time. I almost reacted, and I reminded myself I don't have an image to uphold, as I am a healthy perfectionist. I have what I like to talk about is integrity. And I did understand when I was a teenager that it doesn't mean anything to speak words to you, because you could point that finger like my teenage boyfriend did, make an effective realism statement. I'm broken free from that, which is called, in Maria's words, stupidity. In human grown-up words, this is my 3-year-old, effective realism is when the emotional stuff of yours is so strong that it feels like a fact. I was disowned at 8, and it was a fact. My heart shattered. I was like, oh, I have no sister. It's called an explicit memory. My mother told me the truth, and I said, ha, 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 you can't disown me. And that's why I'm the bossy one of the twin. I have a superpower I forgot to mention. I'm the bossy one of the two. It means I had play. In fact, my twin to this day sometimes is like, you were bossy. Yes, I am. I still am bossy. Don't you know that? So We fight like cats and dogs to this day. I was like, the last time it happened, I said, look, let's go to the other room because I'm pretty sure our energy, like, others don't want to be around it because it's all our child parts, all of them. They live through you. So in my equation, no, shame, there is none to be found, because all children of God, they need not be shamed. They make mistakes, yes. None are supposed to be the identity of a mistake, mistake, mistake. So I mean, whenever someone wants to cast a stone, I remind myself I did it too when I was a teenager. And then I remind myself that I can actually make mistakes. Could you make a mistake? Do you think you know everything about yourself if you were in a dire physical situation? So humility of a human being who understands the word mistake, to the extent of understanding that there are some that are, to the person who will have taken up the opportunity to know, wow, this is really unforgivable. And I don't know about it, but I do know some people who are working with it. And that's why I honor Kylie. She's a narcissist who's healing. And I'll never forget a short that she shared where she's like, some people, they won't forgive me. They've told me. And she was upset, but she didn't want validation loops. She was sharing with her community, the ones who will look up to her, which is why I look up to her, because she's going to make a difference in the world of the narcissists who are healing. Not the human being who I will try to make as vague as possible the mention of how this human being is reading a bunch of data. See, but my colleagues are all against me, but look, they don't change. I think you're still on a vendetta loop, and I think that that's not nice. And I think that as a person, I hope your colleagues come and tell you, no, they're already against you. So sorry, teenager who's still with a Cain and Abel. You know the story? Yeah, so FYI, humanly speaking, insecure people, their sweet revenge. I had a conversation with a friend of mine about it. They're not healing, no. In fact, their body gets weaker by the minute, because that's what happens when you don't take ownership of neuroception, as Dr. Amy Pegan points out. So if someone's smart today, in the year 2026, they will ensure to heal themselves with a good therapist and spot those which are not only validation loops. I have spotted my own. I make fun of the pseudo-intellectuals, so they would want to spot those who are dysregulated and wielding their mouths in ways that hold charges. Now, if the people that are following them around, they're not following. It's Peter Pan with the Lost Boys. So people who choose to outsource their emotional regulation skills and say that we don't know what window of tolerance or welcome are, and that there's not an keep of people out there helping us to know. So when a group of people want to be a special group, remember, those are insecure human beings. And that's why I hear my tone and I'm mastering it, because the point is, inspiring human potential is not by actually mocking those who are weak. It is by pointing it out to you at the best of my ability with a hand on my heart and letting you know that guess what happens in an unjust, unfair world where people dysregulate. They actively accuse you of things that you have not done, yet they live their subjective reality, and every single bit of anything that comes out of their mouth is true to them. Now, Kylie taught me something else about black and white thinking, which made me know way back when something happened with Maria. I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Wow. Thank you so much, Kylie, because seriously, I was like, that was a weird way to interact with me. And really, I'm not telling you all the details on purpose, but I knew it was off. I was like, that's exaggerated, like seriously. And I didn't know enough about what it is to have a NPD or BPD bubble and the black and white thinking and the entire way of how a poor human being inside will be completely off their game. But luckily for me, I'm a person who learned from God how to love all my brothers and sisters. And there's no Cain and Abel story that I would be like, oh my God, yes, God, punish. I said, hey, God, so listen, in my good Christian Catholic catechist upbringing, I don't think what you did with Cain and Abel is nice. I think you could have been, working with them. That's what I told God, something like that. That was for my communion. I learned about Cain and Abel. For my confirmation, I was so happy. I remember when they told me what I was promising, the Holy Spirit that I would stay open-hearted, Jesus that I would forgive, and God that I know there's only one. And yes, as a mystic, I know of Akash, Source, Anima Mundi, and all the words in the book for creatorship. And anybody who actively thinks that's wrong, I know where to find them. They're there now, Maria. I'm so sorry. You are rejected because God doesn't need science. No, he doesn't need science. He's brilliant. We have scientists who are brilliantly sharing with us how amazing humanity is, and they're evolving. Well, the ones who want it, of course. So the ones who don't, it's okay. They won't be back at IHP, but we won't be making fun of them in the way of our colleagues are against us. No, some humans evolve, and that's because they discern the three kryptonites to human awakening, and they know awakening is not a philosophy. And also, the only time you are awakening to your embodied spiritual enlightenment, soul age group, is when you don't dress up like our ancestors and make it into entertainment, which I have noticed. Spiritual bypassers who are also somatic bypassers. And I honor and respect that God gives all his children a place to call home. So when they're getting their validation loops, the bah-ha-ha-ha, okay, I'm going to bring it down a notch, I'm getting chimed in, when they're belonging and they are allowing themselves, like the flat earthers do, to make fun of a Neil deGrasse, I think I'm okay with Neil making fun of me and anybody else who wants to. Because I discern with the equanimous tone and brain of clarity where the smart ones are at and where the ones who have a narrative because they're reactive lack the objectivity of noticing their clownish buffoonery. And oh, did I forget to mention, they don't know how to laugh and they don't know how to play. They have no wholeness. There's no 3-year-old that's like, okay, I don't want to play with them nasty whatever you became because you got broken. You can heal. Like all of them can heal with a good therapist, a good one. And there's plenty of them out there. The ones who say they're not out there are the ones that I'm like, yeah, no, your colleagues are out there. They're doing a great job. And so, self-leaders, we evolve and we build nervous system fluency because we have emotional regulation skills, which is why the journaling prompts that I have shared with you on PayHip, the also mindset practices work because you don't self-reflect by ruminating, and you do catch yourself when you, like it's like, oh shit, I'm a human too, damn it. So I have validation loops, but it's not with people, it's in a different way. But thanks to having intelligence work with me and objectivity, because I'm not an indulgent parent, because I'm not my parent, I'm Maria. My mother also talks sense to me. She's always like, okay, here's 1, and here's 2, and here's 3, and here's 4, and here's 5, 6, and 7. Because see, this is the thing I don't like. Into the unknown. I love the unknown now, but as a child, she shares with me exactly how afraid I was, and I still am a scaredy cat. And that's okay. You can make fun of me. I got not bullied, although that word came to my brain, but I just thought, wow, that's really not nice. You're just pretending to be mean while I know you're scared like I am. I mean, you could just say, we're scared. I'm so neutral about this feeling. If you have anything that's arising, this is a good opportunity for me to remind you. That's why the PayHip store the practices. They serve people who actually know it's not bad to have a charge when things come up. So you have interoception and exteroception, and when things affect you, so in my case, I still, to this day, they get dysregulated. Yes, I have a dynamic with my mom and my twin and my baby sister, because that's the moment of truth. Our child parts live through our dynamics. But we like to have fun. And we're also of a Neapolitan heritage, so we yell at each other and we're all cool with it, or at least I am. I can't speak for my siblings because that's not right. Or my mother, of course. I can't speak for other bodies. This is called subjective reality, which is why when you get accused of doing something that you didn't do, you don't say it's not true. You just say, wow, okay, that's a perspective that I hadn't contemplated, which is why people actually, nope, I only have 2 human beings who don't want to be my friends. The other ones might not have the courage to tell me. I don't know because I'm actually that much of a person who doesn't take offense when someone gives me their opinion. Because I don't have shame. Did I mention that? Yes. So this 3-year-old knows what it means to have self-respect and respect for others. And then what it means when someone talks down to you and how you handle that. It's with proper manners, but it's not because I need to actually suppress Maria's emotions or thoughts or notice that I'm being made fun of in a way that I know what's going on. Discernment with compassion is not naivete. It's also not being gullible, plus my body's small, so the reality is even if I wanted to try and say what I thought, I would not be able to win anything, and most likely I would piss the fuck off of someone who might actually physically harm me, which why would I do that? That's really stupid. Which is where, no evil. When people talk to me about the evil stuff, I just say, those human beings, they were treated in ways that are completely monstrous. Because children are infants, and before they're even infants, they're in the womb, and you must not know of what implicit memory is, and I do, so it's okay. Okay, so self leaders, we evolve by building nervous system fluency. Most people that don't, it's because those kryptonites, the ones we've mentioned. Oh wait, maybe I didn't mention them. Hold on a minute. Okay, so while you sit down and relax, because I'm going to read to you. Let's see, which one do I want to read to you first? Think I'm going to do this one. So the 3 kryptonites: validation loops, choosing not to learn regulation, and then 3, following around pseudo intellectuals who say they're right and that their feelings are justified and that their effective realism is true, and then it's okay. So they chose that which is called this tribal certainty, and to be also epistemic laziness is another word I learned. So when people choose to not notice, they lack self-regulation, that they have completely brought forth biases, charges, opinions, and ways of effective realism. It's a done deal. A smart person is like, yep, okay, we got it. We got it. You were ignored. Something happened, and you're working with your group to feel welcomed, which is great. We feel welcomed as ourselves. Some of us are okay with evolution happening because we're not against information, and we also know spirit and science come together. None of them are a battle, because there's no Cain or Abel. You see, securely attached people have no insecurity. You can self-regulate. So even if you're up, I almost reacted. Okay, that's okay. It happens, because emotional regulation isn't sovereignty. It's actually the moment I choose how I'm going to behave when you treat me like a little piece of shit, and how I want to behave when I'm nervous. If I have a presentation, I'm not going to point to you. My nervousness, not your nervousness. You know? So this is where I love academia. Did I mention that? I actually love learning things. I have a bad time with regurgitation of information. But it's okay, because not everybody cares about that stuff, right? Okay, so the people around you, they question trauma, education, any of them, or saying that it's bullshit. I found it hard to believe. And yeah, please do know they are likely uncomfortable not only with regulation responsibility, but they also collapse into reactivity and narratives. Then their narratives are supported by the pseudo-intellectuals that they follow around. And they're only pseudo because they are actively these individuals who are intellectual. They know stuff, but they disregard their reactivity. My colleagues are against me. They disregard their effective realism. I'm a cynic, not me, but this guy doesn't know he's a cynic. And I believe that we should have a world where it's about what is right, not what feels right. And he's going on and on about how enlightenment is a trap, and he's ripping people apart that cry on screen. And I'm like, wow, that's called destructive mindset, according to Anne-Laure Leconf. And you're a cynic because he can't cry, apparently. I mean, I can cry randomly. I'll just start getting emotional. I'm watching a subreddit. Today it almost happened. I'll start crying for humanity, and I'll then question, are they going to make it? Because the stagnation seems quite big right now, and I get comforted and supported and reminded that it doesn't take entire human species for us to evolve. 0.01% of our entire human history is who has been gifted the opportunity to not only make that huge difference that you see today. I did research. Yes, I know. It's a nice thing to do research. So the self leaders, it's because you be yourself under pressure. Emotional activation doesn't destabilize you. In fact, if anything, you're like, okay, next step. So my edge, it's all good. Great. Okay, so version of leadership, welcome aboard. That does not need to reduce itself or make yourself like to be understood. We learn how to breathe and continue to share. So your child parts are all yours. You're a grown human being with your prefrontal cortex. That's why it's fun to be a functioning child adult. And with that, let me read to you a little bit more on these lovely 3 kryptonites. Okay, so the self leaders that notice, number 1, hold on for it. Where are you? Here we go. Validation loops. When people regulate their nervous system through external agreement instead of internal stability, like the ones who interview each other like the back of their hand, and they continue to just give each other the same stories. And so there's a level of divisiveness and criticism in a world that, yes, is imperfect and flawed. I know all about it. But I do know that when the academics and the professionals, those who care about human beings and our evolution, without their side having to be right, enjoy conversing together. And then we learn when we're in the presence of those who lack discernment capacity, because they lack self-regulation, how to leave it alone. We be quiet. We do our best to say, I think we have different opinions on this subject matter. How do you want to handle this? Because I don't want you to be emotionally upset at me right now. And so you continue to allow yourself to speak the truth in the face of people. And that will allow you to close the conversation sooner than later. And it doesn't mean you're going to be agreeing with each other, but that's the whole point. We're not patting on the back. So when people rely on agreement to feel safe, they collapse into tribal certainty. I have never liked the masses. Like when I was a teenager, I saw them all group up like that. I said, none of you are unique. You just belonging. But I'm motivated differently because personality patterns, temperament. So when you know of the PDP framework, Dr. Dynasty was amazing. I took the test. I was like, yep, that's me. So some people, they have this motivation by bonding. If they learn their PDP framework, then they can work with it so that they can actually become a self-agent who knows, yes, bonding. Of course, I want my loved ones to welcome me. They might not agree with me. That's okay. We have arguments all the time. Again, my twin and I fight like cats and dogs. You should see us. Like, seriously, the energy. I'm not joking. And I'm not choking. So belonging, I belong like anybody else. And we're all different. But it's not better or worse. So you don't feel rejected. You're not, nobody loves me. Even though we all process those moments as you grow up. So I'm not trying to make fun of anyone who might still be working with the 11, 12-year-olds. I get it. Or the 14, 15, 16. Even though that one is a fight one. It's like, fuck you. I'm going to leave. This is how I am. Like I told teenage boyfriend when they said, you let him get away. Who, my dog? I didn't have a dog as a boyfriend. I mean, is that what you want? A dog is a dog. I'm a cat person. I mean, I'm okay with dogs, but I'm a cat person because they're independent. And they take what they want, whenever they want, however they want. Although the balance is the best of the two. I love dogs too, just so you know. But I really do like cats. Because, you don't have to take them out for a walk. It takes less effort. The dog really needs you to be at the house. Although the cats don't like to be at home alone. Okay, I'm digressing on purpose, by the way. Just so that we can get rid of the people who don't need to be. No, I'm kidding right now. Oh, I'm kidding because I know that people don't stick around when they're not actually into the conversation. So the version of leadership that does not reduce itself, they're going to be here because they are tired of the masses. Isn't it boring to hear a bunch of people say how different they are when they're not? I'm not kidding right now. It is between mystics, spiritual, and mindful. We're all like, okay, humanity is really moving into the future. It's so amazing. I wonder when we'll meet the aliens. I know there's a bunch of those who are channelers and downloaders who keep giving you information on that. I have met, yes, future beings. I astral travel. I actually had recently some updates on what's going to happen, but I keep these things to myself because I believe in free will. And the free will that God gives us is that you have choice points. And that the best version of yourself can always come forth. So we do know when people are polarized that their tribe is not going to actually expand unless they have a emotionally sound, which means mentally sound. So emotional bias, I can't exactly get that. That's not going to get people anywhere. That's the casting of the stones. So yeah, it's a choice point though. If a majority of the masses are so not cool with being able to forgive like Jesus taught us, and to know that we are all flawed, we all make mistakes again, and that the lack of self-regulation skills is bountiful. It's not an emotional recession. It's again people who hang out with the validation loops like others, so they belong like the flat earthers. It's not because of people who have different ways of thinking. It's because they actively are saying no, we're right. And if you try talking to them, have you seen the documentary? I saw it. I'm like, yeah, I would be curious. I just want to know how they came to the conclusion because I'm still fascinated by the fact that they can doubt that which is our science is so much. I mean, wow, hey, I believe in God. So I'm just saying, like, the people who don't, they make fun of us. And when we tell them we astral travel, right? And when we tell them about our soulmates and our twin flames and our past lives and our future lives, they make fun of us. The ones who don't, that are in science, they live experiences, but they want to make it into science, right? So this is the part, it's beautiful. We all get to chit chat about the different angles that any of that which is words and stories come to be. Oh, and when you are a channeler and a downloader, you actually, in communion with Akash and Source, know how fun it is. So when I make fun of scientists, it's not the scientists, it's that the left brainers need to have a little box. I'm like, yeah, your box could be, I could poke a hole in it. I won't, because I don't want to. I know your certainty is something that gives you, because complexity is not cool for the people who don't know how to self-regulate. Yeah, certainty is their comfort. So you leave alone their boxes. And while some will make fun of the boxes, I will say Peter Pan is having fun being Hook, Pinocchio, the island, you name it. So when people rely on agreement to feel safe, they don't expand a window tolerance. No, in fact, they think people don't even know how to. They collapse into tribal certainty, polarization, and emotional bias. And so it is nervous system regulation through belonging. While when I was saying if you're motivated by belonging and you notice that, that's where the self-reflective practices help you to say, okay, here's where I can work with myself. So in my case, physical danger is the number one fear for me. Everything else I'm good with. So that will destabilize my body. But then for the part about, for example, when I'm interacting with people who question all of the trauma education, I've fallen out of belief, yeah, that doesn't make me angry. It actually makes me think, okay, well, I can't convince you, because I'm not really here, to what's the word that I'm looking for? Yeah, I'm not a scientist. I'm pseudoscience, and I'm not the ambassador for all the information that has been built throughout these years and that is still building. I mean, I am an ambassador for it, meaning that I like to tell you all about it, but I'm here for people who want to do personal and spiritual growth. Like, that's straightforward, right? Okay, so the ones who think that people don't need therapy, and it's like, no, the people who do need therapy, they could use a really good therapist like Pat Ogden or Dr. Daniel Siegel, or there's also Dr. Daniel Fox. Like, once they get their nervous system on point, it's going to be great. They're going to enjoy hanging out with us until that moment. So some people don't believe in this. They believe that they can use other arenas. And while I understand that other arenas might be where they go, I think that with their very not good gut, because of their, remember the people who think after fucking wedding bells, there's a woman who says it. I'm like, no, I learned as a teenager that now you're trash. Once I joined the polyamory community, now I'm actively a whore, according to comedian. Then I found out that the polyamory community does the, you're not poly enough. And I'm like, wow, okay. And so I found out there was a bunch of just people who are validating, so emotionally immature, wanting to see each other and say, so this is the part of why those who are uncomfortable with regulation, responsibility, they don't like those of us who are like, look, I'm going to understand that if you want a Band-Aid for a bit, you can patch it, but I'm not going to stop at the Band-Aid. It's like when in school, they're like, in high school, let me copy. No, I'm going to hurt you by letting you copy. You're not going to learn anything. But I don't want to learn. Well, I'm not going to. One, I'm going to get in trouble. Today, I'm a grown woman. I'm not going to get in trouble because all the people who deny themselves the opportunity to become themselves actively refute good information. And they follow around the ones who are just as dysregulated and have their same opinions. Why the flat earthers became a group. So again, they're already unseen, unsoothed, unsafe, insecure, and they're teenagers leading them, and they think they're a special group, and they feel that they're right. And their effective realism takes over, which is why we can't make fun of them like demons, because seriously, if there were ever a demon, for any one of you who was raised with God, I was like, hey God, listen, by the time I was 20, there's no Lucifer. I see a bunch of cowards, yes. And then I see a bunch of other mean grown-ups that are doing things to children that I don't even understand why they're not sending every single one of all of them to jail. I don't care what their excuse. There's no excuse. There's a system. That's it. I don't need your excuse. I just need, here you go. Here judge. Here police. Here all of it. That's it. Okay, so whenever it's not that simple. No, it is that simple. It's simple because we have laws. And so whenever something's is a cover-up, I know all the people who get all upset at it's a cover. We know who were kings and queens. Do you know how old they were? 14, 15. Do you know what an adolescent essence brain is like? I do, because I learned about it. I'm not surprised that we have a system that needs fixing. And also there's a bunch of other people. So again, like, while the charges, I get it, because everybody's like, we want justice. Yeah, we all do. I want people to take care of air, water, and food. Apparently, there are those who don't believe climate change is happening, and there are those who continue to not recycle. I'm 46, I recycle. I was told not to pick up trash from the floor that my friends threw on the ground as a 20-year-old and 25-year-old, because that's how much of a pain in the ass I was. And I'm like, I'm going to lift it off the ground because you're trashing it, and I don't understand why. And I didn't ask you to carry it. I'm doing it. You don't need me to. I didn't ask you. Don't do it if you don't want to. I'm doing it. You should have seen me. Yeah, so you learn patience with those who are actively not going to do anything. I remember someone's like, they don't actually recycle. I'm like, that doesn't change the fact that I'm going to participate in recycling, because you know what happens to children and others? They learn by those of us who model, because we have integrity, even if they think we don't. As they're going to say, but you're a polyamory woman. You have no integrity. Really? Okay, then fine. Use your words however fancy you may be. So people that use the left alone, you see, that's that with their reactivity. I love all differences. Did I mention that? As long as we can work it out. We can always work it out. So the it's not personal. I forgot to mention that too, as I'm a storyteller integrating with information. So when I was a teenager, I learned all about that, which was handling those boyfriend with effective realism telling me that I believed in God only because I was afraid of death. People looking at me because I sat in the front of the class asking for homework on a Friday evening. Goody two shoes, I bet you're not. Like, these are teenagers. It's not about me. These are actively human beings who now are grown-ups who still think that a person who can say, look, I'm not hiding shit behind my back. You find out from people like Dr. Daniel Fox that anyone who has any kind of not only BPD, NPD, but childhood trauma, they will doubt kindness. They will test it. Then because they're used to dysregulation, they will use the maladaptive patterns of behavior. And when neutrality hits, they're like, this isn't real, but this is not conscious. This is all their subconscious. So they'll continue to get into that, which is, no, they'll try to. So I see comedians talking about it. There's this one that recently, it was hilarious. She's like, yeah, no, I was just trying to get into arguments with my boyfriend because, and I'm like, wow, that shows me you need more therapy, because that actively tells me that you're still playing out the way you defended yourself when you're a kid, and you're being okay with that. So she was like, yeah, I would be jealous and anyways, I was like, okay, you know what? You could do something about that instead of making it seem like it's okay for you to get underneath someone's skin like that. And that's right. That's why I was mentioning it. So I have a girlfriend of mine. She also mentioned how she liked to get under the skin of people when she was upset at life and everybody else was happy. And when she said that, I said, well, now that you're aware of it, that's good. You can do something with the journaling, the reflective practices. You can choose a micro habit, and that will get you to stop it because you noticed it in yourself. That's the step one. Now that you noticed it. So this is where, no, but it's too hard, Maria. And actually, FYI, for that person, it is too hard. But they refuse to realize what attachment is, the categories, and to go get securely attached. So when people disregard where they can go and they put a Band-Aid on it, I can't do anything about it. I actually explained to all these people that I do know, look, I understand how the nervous system works, and you can't unlearn that which is a defense mechanism. I mean, you can with the right information, but also with the will. So the minute you say, no, I can't stop getting underneath people's skin because why? Plus people are assholes, so why should I stop? You're making up an excuse. That's a person making up an excuse for why they're not going to get emotionally regulated. Like when people say, it seems like some people are trying to make us get over our feelings sooner than later. No, just you got a choice. I mean, you don't have to evolve. That's the part. So human evolution, it is a choice. So is human awakening. And those who block it, well, they don't really block it. They end up in other soul age groups, FYI, as a mystic and spiritual one. There's countries with soul age groups, people with soul age groups. There's choice points, the free will. It all comes together. So you still get to choose every day if you want belonging over truth. And no, the truth doesn't make anyone who is a self-leader uncomfortable, because the only people who wield their mouth like that are people who are hilarious. There's a woman who said, women don't like the truth. babies need the woman's bosom. And I'm like, no, because if the woman's bosom is dysregulated, I don't need that fucking bosom. I need a self-regulating bosom who knows how to use their social engagement system and their prefrontal cortex, and then can handle me being up at all hours of the day, stressing their entire body out because they're going to have sleep deprivation, and then who knows with the relationship they're in. So there's a lot of factors, but yeah, it's not the woman's bosom. So there's plenty of men's bosom that is way better than women's bosom because they can self-regulate. Second, kryptonite. Preferring familiar dysregulation over learning emotional regulation. Familiar chaos feels safer than growth. Like this woman who was picking on her boyfriend, created a fight for no reason. I mean, seriously, I'm not even laughing. But then again, I can't fight. Like I said, I got a twin. We fight like cats and dogs. So to me, it's all play. I'm like, I can't get offended. You can't offend me. One of my friends recently was like, I'm sorry, I'm late in answering you. I hope I didn't offend you. No. I know people have lives. You get busy. It's not personal. Like, seriously, I met people who are like, no, but it is personal. And I'm like, how old are you again? I'm 46, I forgot to mention. That might be what it is. So, unembodied intellectual authority. That's kryptonite number 3. So, following leaders who understand theory. Oh, and more than just that, they even make up their own theories and then they add to it. There's qualitative analysis. Believe me, I love it because I love academia. But the difference is I appreciate letting you know there's some things I know, some things I don't know. And as Neil deGrasse points out, that means that there's those who are a yellow versus a red. So the red are the ones who actually, look, I know what the data is saying, and all my colleagues are against me. They create good people and bad people. Good team, bad team. Oh, and another red flag, they isolate from peer reviews. Anytime you're seeing somebody who's like, I'm going to be all over here without the other ones. Yeah, that's not going to be something I take into consideration as much as I do the ones who still mingle and tingle and respect each other and their academia and all of it. Because seriously, the minute someone is just against it, yes, we know the system is not perfect. You can update the education system. Are you giving up on a system because it's not perfect? I mean, do you give up on each other because we're not perfect? Healthy perfectionists. So again, believe me, I know there's a lot of brokenness out there. It can be fixed with the participation of that 0.01% of humanity that makes a difference. Yes, that's why we choose evolution. That's why leaders lead themselves. Then they also let others know, look, we don't have to agree. Tomato, tomato, it's cool. We don't even have to call anything off because seriously, are you going to make it into a big deal with tomato, tomato? Like, okay, look, I'm so sorry. I think we shouldn't talk anymore. I haven't had that many interactions because people actively. One time I got this guy's like, I can't believe you choose this. I choose the weak side. I'm like, they're all weak. And we're eating dinner right now and I'm under a safe roof. So I'm pretty sure that we're not really in a place to be talking about this. So when leaders lack nervous system embodiment because they lack complete self-regulation, they amplify polarization, manipulation. They actively manipulate with emotional charges like the, my colleagues are against me, look at the facts. They actually try to insult people with family. It's hilarious. Any embodied, securely attached person is going to laugh. Like, that's the minute of truth. You're like, wow, that is hilarious. Oh my gosh. And anybody who takes offense is like, wow, you're really just going to use words and continue acting like I can't even believe that there's grown human beings like that. Honestly, now I just have words to explain it. Thanks, Bezel van der Kolk. So again, dysregulated people don't know they're dysregulated, which is why they hang out with the ones who pat them on the back, and they model epistemic laziness instead of discipline. That means they forget that they don't know everything and that they're not the all-knowing of anything, because there's a bunch of yesterday's subject matter experts and there's now subject matter experts, and there's going to be tomorrow. So anybody who wants to tell you that they're going to cancel out basically everything and then give you their little package, FYI, epistemic laziness. It's bullshit. That's what I'm going to say. So smart people know it. It's like, okay, wow. That's why I'm still amazed at being able to make fun of those who certainty feels safer than complexity. Do you know why I make fun of them too? Because is it really complex to read books and learn shit? That's the part. I love thinking. I always was like, what the heck? What's up with this? So today, with all the big grown-up words I have, blind egos are boring because playing the game of life is fun and nobody is actually out to get you unless you have a conspiracy theory in the back of your hand and the front of your brain. And I'm just thinking kings and queens were 14 years of age. Now that I know how the embodied brain works and the adolescent essence, I'm like, yeah, essential spark social engagement. Novelty, creative expression. Where are you? Oh, that makes so much sense. They all just like to use words in different ways. I think they don't like that dictionary's update. And they don't know how the social construction of reality is made. They also seem to not understand that we can update words without fighting over it. So with that, let me read to you a little bit more, and then we'll go on with our merry day, and we'll have some more amazing journey ahead. So get prepared. I have some surprises. Self-leaders. They choose to evolve and discern these 3 kryptonites to human awakening that I mentioned to you. And we are able to discern them and organize them, as I just did, and make fun. So have fun here, because really, I wouldn't want to be boring. We do this through self-awareness and reflection practices, like journaling and inner growth mindset habits. We don't fall for these kryptonites, block our growth, or minimize ourselves and humanity's real potential for those who are unready. So when someone says evil wins, I say, no, God wins. When someone says science doesn't know everything, no, it doesn't, but it knows a lot of things, and it knows what you're capable of. And if you don't want regulation, fluency in terminology or in your body, that's fine. And I'm going to, again, play with a bunch of words, not to use them correctly necessarily, but to allow myself as we evolve. Being yourself means you have nervous system. You're choosing nervous system sovereignty because you have emotion regulation skills, which means you say, I almost reacted, then I remembered sovereignty is a choice, which is I choose how to show up. And while people think that it's control, it's not control. Integrity has no control. It's I'm securely attached. I'm a human being called Maria, personally. I'm telling you right now, I got a 3-year-old and I got all of my child parts, and you can't shame me to the bejesus of it, because guess what you are? Human in flesh. And that is where, when God chimes in, it's to remind me to be humble. When science chimes in, the minute I got a human who does not know what subjective reality is, and to how humbly speak to another human being with putting your hand on a heart and remembering to regulate, I don't need to do anything. It ain't personal. I got a dysregulated poor 3-year-old with a teenage asshole in the forefront of me, and I ain't going to waste my time. My breath does not deserve to be used. Because also, I'm not going to shame the poor human being who got treated like a little piece of shit. And that is closing it, because you don't dehumanize or distance. I care about human beings. I care about you evolving, expanding. I ain't going to give you a Band-Aid to put little on your little... No, I'm going to say, yeah, sure, go get the Band-Aid. Have fun with the Band-Aids. It's like cheating. You're not going to do shit with it. You're going to do half of what you could do, like my facade friend did, who gave up on himself just because he thought, no, because he didn't even try. The last conversation I had with him, this is why I know about choice points, besides as a mystic. Well, it's the mystic part, because I know about where we are at with the timeline, and because that's how I'm coming at a lot of the topics. Personal growth, I can tell you. Scientists know exactly how to explain it. And that's why people who don't understand what the choice point is from a spiritual perspective think, well, he made a good choice. He made the best choice available to him because he gave up on himself. And I know because I'm his friend, and I believe in him, and knew he could have gone wherever he wanted. He's smart as an entrepreneur. He is funny. He is a man who would love any of his partners the way he has shown his previous ones. And instead of doing that, because he would have ended up alone, he chose to compromise. So sure, he learned what love is, but he made a compromise. And that's why your destiny or your fate or whatever words, if you're mystic or spiritual or a human being, it isn't written. You will make a choice point, micro habits, little choices, but they will still lead to, do you believe in yourself or not? I can't make you believe in yourself because I'm not in your body. And that's the one thing. You can't help someone self-regulate to the extent of all their child parts to then look in their heart and say, I can do it. And yeah, I can fuck it up. Doesn't mean you're going to hold it against you the entirety of your life. That's where the whole Cain and Abel story. So people are using ancient stories. Let me just let you know. Look at it from the human perspective. You got a securely attached one, whichever one was the one who didn't care about giving, who was benevolent, all that. That's the kind person who doesn't say I'm kind. They're a self-regulating human being who knows that it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. The dysregulated is afraid. Oh, and our ancestors, we have a lovely nervous system because there's bears outside and nature. Like there's explanation for every single bit of why a human does what they do. 14-month-old you rules you. My amygdala rules me. I want a securely attached, safe one, at least one, but I got a twin. So my implicit memory knows no aloneness, which is another superpower I got. And I'm just letting you know, it's a real deal. Like, seriously. So When someone thinks that they don't need anyone, that's not true. It's a bullshit line. But if their first years of the life and the womb and all the things that scientists know was not given to them in a way of their body knowing self-regulation, in the meantime there's a bunch of 3D 4D making up stories with the whole reptilian word. And then I found out, so once I got all educated with a bunch of different courses, like, okay, these people are making up words. And they're like, but what are you doing? Well, I'm trying to integrate words and make sense out of them in a human way. The human elements to the spirituality elements, which is always going to go back to inspire human potential, be yourself, evolve, expand. Wow, Elvis, his legs got cut off. I was like, what the heck? We're still doing the Elvis thing. It's just a different year. So, the people who don't want to move into the future, that's why we're future humans. Because 3D, 4D don't know we're here. I'm not even kidding. Okay, let me go back to reading before I make too much fun of those who I know it's not their choice. So we have the lovely self-awareness and, again, reflective practices, because I really want to read you some of what I wrote. While under activation we use our lovely emotional regulation skills, the truth is we understand that it's a choice. That's what I was saying. When I get reactive, to this day, I have never gone to narratives. I have stories, but they're not stories that are truth. It's always, I have perspective and I have feelings that come with it. And sometimes they're really strong, and I can say I have very strong feelings. And then I remember learning, it doesn't matter if I tell you the truth, you're going to call me a liar if you think I'm lying. And, oh, by the way, if you have a idea of what lying is, you can interpret everything so it's a no-win. As Terry points out, every person that is in any kind of relationship with people, it's a subjective reality. So why are you going to waste your time arguing with anyone the minute that you're not going to get anywhere, which is why Terry calls it a losing strategy, because then it's defense mode. And defense mode is boring. In fact, I don't actually participate at all because, again, playing is different. So my twin and I, for as much we've fought like cats and dogs and still do, that was never in a way of meaning very upset. So that's a whole different energy. I remember meeting twins who actually were so vicious to each other. I was like, oh my gosh, I'd never do that to you. Even if we get on each other's nerves, I would never hurt you physically. Like, that's just like, I was like so sad. I was like, how could you do that? But then there were other types of twins who became enmeshed. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's yucky. We're different. And the same, no, we're different. We're two people. We got personalities. We like to hang out. And so, at the end of the day, different means you have your personality patterns and your temperament, which is where nobody can be you, by the way. That's another thing a securely attached person would know. Okay, so daily mindset practices or not, you are someone who, with the emotional intelligence, you build micro habits. So you grow intelligent because emotion regulation skills leads you to the nervous system sovereignty. And that's a consistency, because we're always going to have things happening. You're choosing to bring forth your A game. And that's that embodied self-leadership with emotional maturity. So that's why any type of reflection is going to lead you to growth, because you're choosing not to collapse into reactivity, your old patterns, your habits, or a story. You also don't exaggerate the feelings or whatever's happening. And it's not because you're indifferent. It's because you have equanimity, calm and centeredness. So people who choose to not want to have it, they think it's bullshit. In fact, they'll call those of us who are quantumous bypassers. They choose to use words the way that they will use them to justify their energy. I don't justify the energy. So, for example, let me bring myself in. I'm human like everybody else. And when I have been caught with the validation loops, it was in a different way, not belonging. It's too much time anyways now. So I want to let you guys go soon. But the point is, I was like, okay, that makes sense now that I think about it. So once you've thought about when you get an objective interaction, because that's where neutrality, so someone presenting you information with neutrality is going to have you not be defending yourself, which is going to help you to be a good listener. If you're defending yourself, you can still be a good listener because you remember it's not personal, you self-regulate, and you can continue conversing with people, which is the part of what I love to master, mastering motion, going with flow. It's be yourself from within. The inner growth mindset practices, we have 3 main modules for the courses, which are beginners, intermediate, and advanced, although they're not all online at all. But if eventually we have a group of you who are interested, for now, the beginners is fully on Udemy, but I may choose to change out those platforms. So to be continued. In the meantime, as we continue, you don't shrink yourself, you don't minimize your feelings, you don't bypass the events that are taking place within your life or within humanity's, the world, but you're not reactive to it. And so you're capable of epistemic discipline, emotional regulation under pressure. This allows you to differentiate between intellectual information versus pseudo-intellectual, which is easy to spot, by the way, because they use that which is polarization, tribal certainty, mass manipulation, and really they just come at it with characterological like distinctions or offenses. Like they just use words to offend each other. It's like seeing it's actively not even children, it's teenager versions of people who are grown, and you will find it buffoonery. Emotionally intelligent people can't make it into that big of a deal because you're like, okay, wow, really? Like, how many of these human beings do we have that don't realize just how dysregulated and wow, dark sides of neuroplasticity? Anyone, your brain's getting dumber by the minute, and being around people who patch you doesn't make you smarter. Again, so that's why the patching, the band-aid, if you're a person who looks for growth, you will notice the band-aid. At a certain point, it's more like a shoe. You'll outgrow the shoe. And that's the moment of truth. Will you be able to look to the past and say, wow, I fell for bullshit. Wait a minute, let me not crap on myself. Complexity, no, not even that word alone. Trauma charges come up. You have a life. Things have happened to you since you were a kid. So all feelings that come up, all charges have a reason, which is why not inner critic, outer critic. Not drinking, drugging, fucking. I mean, I meet people in college that are doing this shit. Okay, so when someone wants to minimize what they're experiencing, no, there's a reason for it. When you disregard it, that's why at a certain point, when your shoe doesn't fit, this is where decentralizing the self. Patrick McNamara talks about religious experiences. You don't need those. Some talk about it as post-traumatic growth. You don't need those words either. But if a person is able to contain, as Peter Levine points out, images, sensations, the affects, which are the emotions, the behaviors and the meanings, they will have stuff come up with that, which is the feelings. They'll, okay, that makes sense. I had a trauma charge because of this experience. That's the moment of you choosing self-leadership, equanimity, choosing to uncharge, choosing to grow, choosing not to stagnate. And so at that point, you don't think it's bullshit what I just experienced. You think, okay, I'm human too. I can sound like an asshole, and I can be an asshole. Right here, judgmental asshole. I can be seen as a judgmental asshole. I was when I was a teenager. I still am seen like that by some. I'm not intending to do it, and I never will, but I definitely won't be catering to validating people's feelings in ways of saying there's a right or a wrong, or there's a one or a two, there's a gazillion is what I'm going to say. And then the whole right and wrong, please, are you going to reduce a conversation to this? Because I'm pretty sure the life of ours is not reduced into twos. If you can't handle threes, fours, fives, six, seven, it's okay. You don't have to. But this is not a conversation. So how about you have the floor, tell me what you're thinking, and I leave it alone because I can't minimize humanity and everything we are just because you've decided. So that's not you, but this is the part. Complexity is what we enjoy. It's not complex. It's, wow, seriously, don't you know where we come from? Like how many years we've been around? Like, why would you want tribal certainty? It's so small, limited, such bullshit. Gender stereotypes irritated the fuck out of me when I was a kid. They still do now, but now I just get told, you're a woman, Maria. So, well, I'm a woman, so I guess I can't understand what it is to want to know what a true man is. No, I know what a true man is, like a true woman. So please. Wedding bells, that's bullshit. And all the women who laughed with it is like, wow, okay, you obviously don't know a study that I know about. And so men and women obviously don't know that they are so insecure to the point of where they're going around fucking each other, STDs, and thinking of wedding bells. Go on an app. I don't know. Write a list. Do something. Go to Terreal. Like there's a bunch of solutions. That's why it's always been the same since I was a kid. Determined comes to mind when I say these things because he points out, I haven't read the book yet, but it's like you've all been determined. I'm going to say you have free will because there's therapists who help people to claim their nervous system, to become themselves, to not project their trauma charges, but instead to become the boy, girl, the human being Those who are doing it, they look forward to nervous system sovereignty. They look forward to emotional regulation skills on a wheelhouse because they look forward to being the best version of themselves, not as a trending topic. You know how amazing it is to regulate depth and not shrink, to regulate intensity and every emotion. This is why true you is full of it, and it isn't a it's not a pedestal thing. So when someone's saying, when we overflow in humanity, thank you, Sadhguru, that we will then have divinity descend, these words dress people up in cloaks. We're not it. If we were ever it, any of those who are mystics or spiritual, we were like, yeah, that's not how this works. That's why we know free will. That's why we know choice points. That's why we don't make it into a big deal, but we also don't make it into you have to suffer. So the ones who are continuing with the suffering tale, the sacrifice, that's where that low frequency, that dopamine hit from the fantasy stages, from the Peter Pan and the Lost Boys and the Shadow and the superheroes and the supervillains. So they have a kryptonite like my facade friend. They will stay weak. Their energy will be weak. It's not because they're weak of mind. No, they are weak of their energy body because they are not moving beyond being able to support each other's not only concepts, but I'm going to bring it to you this way. Like I was saying before, the shoes get tight. So if you're a person who owns the sense of self, you will enjoy as you grow. You don't feel the shoe ever getting tight. You always notice that the shoe is going to be changed. And so like for me, with this lovely new year ahead of us, there's a lot that is going to take place as I continue to create content, but reformulating it. And because being yourself is that basic foundation, but there's more behind it. And so you notice it, you like it, you do it. You don't feel out of place when you're comfortable in your own skin, that is. Excuse me. We're all in flesh. Did I mention we all can make mistakes? You're not afraid of making a mistake. You know what happens when you actually know that you're weak at something? I got told do this job. I was like, look, I don't do this job. I'm not going to do it well. My brain doesn't work that way. No, do it. I did the job. I got to leave with my tail between my legs. This was professionally speaking. I'll never forget it. I already knew that I was going to be a flop. And they said, it's all mindset. I was like, no, it's not mindset. I know how my brain works and I know exactly what my brain does not do well. And you didn't believe me, and that's okay. Don't pay me because I don't deserve to get paid. And you don't think I'm ashamed of myself. No. You think, yeah, shame. Well, I mean, I failed. Well, yeah, I knew I was going to fail because it's not my forte. So person, you know what would have made me feel ashamed of Maria? And actually, I mean, as a kid, there's definitely some things. So the whole peer pressure. But I'm going to say, it's okay. We all make mistakes. The grown-ups had told all the kids about this, so it's a different way. But what I can tell you today I would have been ashamed of is treating certain people in my life like complete with Maria's judgmental asshole. Like complete. I would have today said I'm ashamed of myself for having treated certain people like a little piece of shit people, and they didn't deserve that. And those who think that they would because they're bad manners, I would say no. They didn't choose. They were set up to fail miserably in all of their relationships, so they don't deserve to be treated like little pieces of shit because they already got that. Which brings me to one of Sadhguru's story with how you've heard it before if you're regular, but it's a compulsive thief who basically is within a community with a wise one. I forget the words he uses, but the master of these people who are saying that they're looking to enlighten with the master, they're telling him he has to get rid of the compulsive thief, and he's like, no. And they're like, well, we will leave if you don't. Kick him out because he's going to thieve again. And he says no. And the compulsive thief shatters at his feet. So when I translate these spiritual stories, it's the shame gets broken when it finally can be connected to another person because you don't shame them. But it isn't a straightforward equation because integration requires for the person to get all those child parts, all those fragments, all of that, which is why when I hear people saying they don't need therapy, some people do. And that's only because it's so intimate that at the end of the day, you will potentially want to just tell it to a stranger because that's the vulnerability and the level of it. So anyways, it's a personal choice, but we are capable of emotional regulation under pressure. And those who are not yet able to do that, they can choose integration. Instead of polarization, they can choose to open themselves up to that which is complexity, meaning a bigger way of thinking instead of tribal certainty. And they can choose, therefore, to understand how human evolution works and to choose to be emotionally and mentally sovereign, which is amazing. Be yourself. So we choose to live up to our species' higher consciousness potential as not only embodied self-leaders, but with the understanding that nobody is their biggest mistake ever. Everyone deserves to be loved. And when it comes to that Cain and Abel story again, it's something that our ancestors had. They didn't have science explaining how the nervous system works. And when you understand what biological rudeness is and how manners work and how a person is the only one who can self-reflect, choose a micro habit that will replace that habit. And then again, this is that part of where I always mention therapy, because it's working with good therapists. Anyone who wants to tell me as a coach, consultant, mentor, it's not solo. And when we do get crapped on, the spiritual mystic, the in-between community, I understand it. All I want to say to the entire collective of the professionals is, ensure you have those who don't say, my colleagues are against me, narcissist, unhealable. Because seriously, that's, so ensure that you have more compassionate, discerning, and anchored in ventral energy therapists, because that's what the world needs more of. If you're going to have people believe in the professional field, because I have a bunch of people come to me and I'm like, look, I can support you for growth, but we want therapy because you just described to me what's clinically dissociation. I want your best interest. I know what you described to me. And they're like, no, but I want you. And I'm like, okay, I know, I understand what you want. But I'm saying we want something that can get you all the way around. So again, the Band-Aid isn't enough if you say you care as a professional. When I say care, it's not by saying fake. And when some people think that it's, what's the word? Yeah, I'm going to leave that one for another episode, because there's plenty of people who think people don't need to hear the extent of the information and the explanation. Well, I say yes, because people, when you give a surface level anything, they don't understand the behind the scenes. To me, you haven't given them all of that which they need to hear so that they can make a grounded evaluation. And usually people will think that way because they think that you're going to dissuade or make it more complicated. And this is that part of where, to me, if a person is emotionally reactive as they're engaging in conversation, they're not a grounded and centered consumer. You're not purchasing something knowingly. So you're unregulated. You're looking for certainty. You're looking for bias. You're looking for something. That's not going to work out in your best interest. And this is where authenticity, transparency, and when anyone wants to tell me they care about being an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever it is, it's like, yeah, if you care, then you're going to make everything very clear to me. And you're actually going to give me more information, not less. If you're going to try to manipulate me into it, which means you're also an insecure person for what you're offering. See, to me, if you need to persuade me to, okay, wow, really? I think of services that, as a marketer, an online content creator, entrepreneur, when I get rid of some services, the ones that make it harder for me to unsubscribe, I'm like, yeah, that's wrong. You actively are basically trying to hold me hostage, or anyways, it's unnecessary. If what you're offering me is so great, you're going to make it easy for me to unsubscribe. And if you don't, so recently I unsubscribed to something. I was very pleased with how they handled it. That's like a good marketer. That's a good team. That's a good everything. And like, okay. And the only reason I wasn't able to follow up was for time. I don't have the time to, but I totally will try to, because that is how they respect their clients. So respect. Self-leaders give respect, want respect. When it's not given, we know that means we have a bad-mannered and insecure, which is why we won't meet you with the same coin. That's where integrity lies. Doesn't mean you're going to see integrity. No, some people will think that that's judgmental asshole. That's a person who thinks they're superior. Whatever it is, it don't matter though. Because the minute you're understanding what you're doing, you know that your intent is, I respect me, and if I'm being met with disrespect, that means that they didn't learn something, or something is triggering them and it's none of my business and it's not personal. And I can't self-regulate the person. They need to be the grown-up, regulate themselves, get out of the charge, get in a clear brain, speak to me like a human being, and that means get nervous system sovereign, or fluency, excuse me, because then the sovereignty consistently is, oh, I almost reacted. Let me not collapse into mannerisms or reactivity or narrative and so that's why it's a choice, which is a beautiful one, by the way. I love it. And so we choose to live up to our species' potential. We choose emotional regulation over reactivity. We choose nervous system sovereignty over validation loops, which, by the way, keeps their window tolerance weak, because they don't even move into window welcome. It's the same MO. So while they continue with the karma wheel, I told you that in the short, which is not a good or bad thing, they just continue leading with their 14-month-old and subconscious. Those who do the dharma wheel, we expand. And we all have our 14-month-old too. The difference is we're aware of it when things are taking place. And we can say we're sorry, we make a mistake. We're not going to give excuses. We can understand different subjective reality. So if I'm getting accused of something that's not true, but the person doesn't like me, they won't like me. I'm not going to be offended if they call me names, because why would I? You actually calling me a name makes me know you're reactive. Any kind of talking down to me makes me know you're reactive, because obviously something's went down that's hurt your feelings, or some shit's going down. Okay, so common sense. But it's not just common sense. It's more than just that for some, because some will think they know common sense. I'm in subreddits, different subreddits. One is an emotion intelligence one. I'm like, yeah, there's a bunch of not emotion intelligent anythings. They're crapping on each other in ways that are not intelligent. They're not self-reflective. This is more of, we're using a word that's trending now and we think we are, while intelligence means that you are consistently flowing and learning and you're not blocked. So if charges come up, you're like, oh, there's my edge, up, there's my opportunity. You're ready to do more of it, not ready to complain about it. And I'm not saying everybody has to be at that. That's why it's a choice to be not only yourself the way that today we can finally know, because I didn't know as a kid that being yourself involved your entire nervous system. Did you? And the ones who don't believe it, again, they're not comfortable with regulating, and it's very clear. So we choose to expand our window of tolerance to a window of welcome, not stagnation, like my facade friend or little groups, and show up in life and our relationships as the best version of ourselves. Mastery in motion over performance and evolution. That's why we bring our lovely human species to its next level of intelligence and potential. So you do know that I will read to you again, because I didn't get all of what I wanted to, but in the meantime I did want to share some stories. It's been a while, and so humanity, truly capable of everything that I have learned about from when I was a kid with God and today with science. And so body, brain, mind, heart, self, and soul, anyone can choose it. Doesn't mean that they will get there sooner or later, but they can choose to be themselves, which is the most amazing. Because as Bessel van der Kolk points out, I have a quote. If you're new, you haven't heard the quote, let me read that one quote. And then you can go on your merry way, even though I have so many papers here. So maybe I won't find it. Let's find out. But I could pause you, is what I could do. I just don't want to. So he talks about how the soul is covered up. Here it is. Trauma is not a story of something that happened in the past. Trauma is the imprint that all experiences leave on your soul and your body as your sensations. Bessel van der Kolk. And that's the part of where, when you contain sensations, images, behaviors, affects, meanings, and that means you can be aware of them with your thoughts and your feelings. So I almost reacted, or I did react. Okay, let me take a look at this. Okay, here's my micro habit of choice. So like I learned at a certain point how to just try to be quiet as I'm consistently reactive, and it worked to help me to stop being so like immediate with responding in dialogue. And it took a while. And so you continue to choose that, and you continue to have fun. And with that, thanks for stopping by, and we will be back with more. Let all of your friends and family and people who you do know like to self-reflect and to regulate, join us here. And PayHip, they can check out the PayHip store. There's also paid subscriber content on Spotify, which I'm going to look into at some other point to add to it. But in the meantime, you have inner growth mindset exercises, readings, and spotlights. And for PayHip, we have bundles for the mindset practices and the journal prompts. Thanks for stopping by and have a good one.